here's a dresser I'd like to make in the future, and maybe that'll be down the road, William and Mary style, 1690s to 1730s, and this is the one that I made in this video. And my husband picked this out. He really liked it, so that was why I made this one. Now I'm starting out with the onion feet, and I have some beads. And I just want to tell you, I get a lot of suggestions for stuff, and that's great. I love it. But I do try to use the things that I have, and I do state this often because I want to use them. I want to have the challenge of taking the things I already have rather than buying new stuff and turning it into something. So that's why I use beads and jewelry findings and that sort of thing, and I may use even objects in my work that sound strange to people. And I also want to reiterate the fact that I am making everything myself. So I'm not buying hinges and that sort of thing for dressers or tables. I'm not buying drawer pulls. I'm not buying key plates and stuff like that, or legs for furniture. I'm making everything. And that's the challenge that I have in this particular video, is to keep it really handmade and using the things that I have. So that does put some limitations on me, but it also forces me to get a little more creative. Now what I'm doing is I'm just cutting the balsa wood out, and I just cut the sides, and I'm going to cut out the front of the dresser and the back of the dresser. And this is very simple construction. And of course the challenge is to make it so that it doesn't look like it's just simply glued together. There's going to be a little of that because that's what I'm working with. I'm not a joiner and I'm not a turner. Those were terms that were used in the 17th and 18th century for people who made furniture. You were usually either a joiner or a turner, and the turner made things on a lathe, and a joiner was somebody who created joints for the furniture. And, of course, when people were coming over to the colonies, they didn't bring all of their furniture with them. They may have brought a piece, they may have brought a chest, they may have brought some dishes and that sort of thing. But it was really generally too expensive to haul a lot of big, heavy furniture over, although there were people who did do that. And we do have lots of instances where families would send furniture and that sort of thing. But we had so much timber here in the colonies, and still do, for making furniture, and so many supplies in the nature of stone and wood, clay, metals. So this is a rich nation still with many raw materials. What I'm doing now is just pinning it together after I've spread the glue, and I've said this before, but I'll say it again. Make sure when you use wood glue that you don't leave any gaps. It will bond better and you won't have any breakage. I'm just cutting out the bottom and the top now, and the top's going to be slightly bigger than the bottom because I want some overlap over the edges. Again, the William and Mary furniture that I'm making for this log home is really influenced first by the Dutch, and then a lot of those Dutchmen came here to the colonies and settled in Pennsylvania and places like New York and along the St. Lawrence River area. And they brought their style with them. And of course, William was in England, was influenced by the Dutch and also by the French. Two furniture makers that came from England that were very influential in the colonies from about 1660 up into the beginning of the 1700s William Searle and Thomas Dennis. They trained in Devonshire, England, and then when they came here, they settled in Ipswich, Massachusetts during the 1660s. And once they were here, they continued to produce objects in the same manner they had in England. Both men had a rather florid style that had its roots going back to the Renaissance period. But it became very popular as a source of ornamentation, even reaching back into the medieval forms. They really pushed that idea of a lift-top chest. The chest of drawers, it wasn't a real chest of drawers, and it had a lift top of it on it, but it was actually a blanket chest. And there are others too, but we don't need to go over all of them, all the furniture makers. I can't remember them anyway. I used to know more about this stuff, but I've sort of gone blank about it recently. I'll have to investigate more so I can bring some of these furniture makers back to my memory. I seem to remember the name Daniel Moreau or Murat and Jarrett Jensen from that period. Most of these furniture makers were also very skilled in framing a house as well, or even building a log cabin. So they did bring some significant skills with them from Europe in those days. Now I put wood filler all over the cracks so that you wouldn't see where it was joined. And this is Minwax wood filler. And now I'm going to glue the onion feet on that I had put the little wooden posts on that I sawed off. I used super glue on the metal and glass, and I'm using wood glue to join the wood to the wood on the bottom. And now I'm just going to use this gesso to give a quick coat over the glass and metal so that it adheres better than acrylic paint. So just give it the once over and then let that dry for about an hour. It's probably better to let it dry a little longer as well. And I'm just going to sand the Minwax off and make it look like a solid piece of furniture. And I'm going to use this also for covering the bead holes on the feet. I'm mixing wood glue with the wood filler this time, and I do this frequently. About 1/3 of the amount is glue. And I'm just going to fill those holes. And then I'll let that dry as well. Now I'm going to make the skirting, which is a piece of trim on the bottom, and measure that out. And you saw me already trim it and cut it. A piece of it off. This was actually chair rail, and it's hardwood. It came with a primer on it, a white primer. And I'm just using my miter scissors to cut it. Whoops, I don't know what's going on here. I flipped it. I cut it wrong. That's the back. We'll get it straightened out. There we go. That's the way. And I'm going to use super glue to glue this on because there's primer on it that's actually like plastic. So and it'll adhere pretty quickly, so I'm just going to do it with super glue on these light pieces. And then I'll use some wood filler to fill in any gaps that might be at the joint in the front on both sides. So more wood filler. This time I'm going to mix it in a little piece of waste plastic from a pop bottle. 2/3 wood filler and about 1/3 glue, wood glue. And I'll just push it into the crack and close that up. Now I'm going to measure for a trim that goes on the front, and these are bamboo skewers. And I'm going to actually box the drawers in with these skewers. And if you looked at the original, you see that there's some kind of a round molding that was used to box the drawers in. And this is the closest thing I have that will work. Bamboo is a kind of wood, so it will take the paint and it will sand just fine. And now I'm just going to glue these in. I just eyeballed it, really. This is about 3 inches high and about almost 4 inches wide, this chest. Not including the top and the bottom and the legs. I'm just talking about the front of the chest. And I'm going to just do a top and a bottom. And they're just about exactly the same size. I'm just going to give it a little bit of sand because, you know, when you cut bamboo, sometimes it leaves these fibrous strings, and we don't want those. This will close any gap also. And I'll just get rid of the extra glue with the brush. And then I'm going to measure for the drawers. I take the easy route with measuring for drawers. I get a measurement for it, and then I get a piece of card, like a file card, and I fold it. And that way I don't have to mess around with it all day. But I'll show you what I do. Because you have to fold it properly, and you have to fold it pretty tightly, so in order for this to work. Okay, I'm just going to measure it, get a basic measure for the front. And it's 3 inches, just about 3 inches. It's just slightly less than 3 inches with including the bamboo. And what I did is I just measured it out, and then I measured it evenly and drew a line across that paper card, and then now I know where to put the skewers that I cut under each, from side to side, under, you know, it'll be under each drawer, because the drawers aren't going to open on this. I don't care about opening and closing drawers necessarily. I'm not going to be playing with this, and I'm not going to be fussing with it. And for me, it's easier, but not only that, it just, I get a better cut. It looks better, and, you know, it's just easier to manage all the way around for me, so. Functionality is not necessary in most cases for the stuff that I make. Okay, I'm just going to cut these drawer fronts out now. Make sure there's no edges that are angled, so I'm just going to sand them all the way around and then just glue them in place. And each one that I glue, I'll put the piece of bamboo under it. Just want to see if that fits. That fits. That's actually turned out to be a perfect size, so we'll just sand it smooth. And I'll cut them all out before I glue them, just to get a sense of what's happening. And I'm just going to make it right off. I'm going to just cut it right off that one piece and just keep moving along. Okay. I have this speeded up quite a bit, and I did cut quite a bit of film out because it was getting to be very, very long. So, in case you're wondering why I speed these up, well, that's why. Otherwise, I won't be able to get enough of it in to show you my process. And I will have a story soon with this log home and the family that lives there. I will be starting a film on making the log house very soon. Hope this week. And I will also have a film soon on finishing the side walls of the 1930s dollhouse. Although the inside is completely finished now, the outside, two of the outside walls aren't completely done. I've got the roof done, but I have to finish the outside walls, and I'm working on that right now as well. And there we go. I'm going to just put these in now underneath. To give them a little sand just to make sure that fibrous bamboo stuff is not hanging around. And I'm probably going to have to sand this and cut it a little bit more. That was a little too wide. There, that's perfect. Just give it a sand. And I'm using 600 grit sandpaper. And I will be buffing the outside of this after it's painted with 2000 grit sandpaper. So, but that's later. In case I forget to mention it, the two sandpapers I use are 600 for this one and 2000, which is very fine. Okay. I didn't trim that one either, so just going to give it a quick trim. Still didn't get it right. And then I'll just sand it down to manage it, get it to fit. There, okay. And that just has to be glued in. Now I'm giving it a quick sand all the way around, brush it off. And this is 600 grit paper as well. I don't go any lower than that because, as I've said before, it tends to roughen up the balsa wood a little too much, at least for me. Now I'm putting a base coat on, and this is just burnt umber. And I'll just give the entire piece a coating of this as thin as I can get it. I'm going against the grain first. That's how you get the paint into the pores of the wood, and then go with the grain afterwards before it dries. So brush against the grain to get the paint into the paint or stain or whatever you're using, and then brush it at first layer, then brush it to the grain afterwards. And you'll have a better fill on the wood and fewer gaps. Now I'm going to make a red color, and these are all the paints that I've used, if you see to the right, to make this particular red. I didn't have a satisfactory red just out of the bottle, so I'm using a variety of paints to get to the color that I wanted. And now I'm putting museum wax that's mixed with half beeswax that I melted down, and I'm going over the whole thing with a little layer of it on a Q-tip and just brushing it in. And this will help resist some of that red paint. I'm going to sand it in a little bit, and I'm still using the 600 grit to do this. And now I'm going to give it a coat of paint. I'm not interested in coating it so completely that it covers everything. I will give it the once over, see what happens after it dries, and then I may give it another coat. Now this one I'm not brushing it into the grain. I'm just brushing with the grain because we've already done that with the first coat. And now I'm going to start working on the hardware, which are teardrop pulls and some diamond-shaped keyholes, key plates for key with a keyhole in it. And I'm just using glass head pins, super glue, and this is nail art that I'm gluing on the end of the head of the pin to give it more of a drop look. So it has a little bit different shape than the first ones I made for the other chest, for the blanket chest. And I'm just going to go through and just glue one of these little nail gems on each one of these pins and just put them aside to dry. And I need 8 of these. And there they are. And that's just a little piece of balsa wood. And I'm going to dip these in triple thick, and each one will be dipped, and then I'll let it run down the shaft of the pin a little bit. And sometimes you have to encourage it to do that, and that's what I'm doing with my finger, just drawing it down the shaft of the pin. And then I might have to dip it again, but until it's the shape that you want it, it's like a teardrop. And then I'll let those dry. You know, I'm sure you can buy stuff like this online, but like I said, I am not going to be doing that. I'm going to be making everything because that's the challenge I want to fulfill for this channel. Okay, now I'm going to give this is actually 2000 grit. No, it's 600 grit. 600 grit paper. I'm just going to give it the once over again. And my lighting is quite bright, and it is a certain shade. It has a lot of red highlights in the light itself, and unfortunately you don't really get a sense of what the real color is until the end, so you can't really see everything I want you to see how this paint looks. I'm just putting in a little place where the handles will go and the plates for the keyhole plates. And now I'm going to start drawing in the design. I'm using a Prismacolor pencil this time, not an Inktense. And this is not a water-soluble pencil. And I didn't want it to be water-soluble because I don't want it to smudge. But of course, if you make a mistake, you have to sand it down and repaint it, and that can get kind of dicey. So I'm going to make this whole thing with this Prismacolor pencil. The Prismacolor pencil has a lot of oil in it, waxes in it that make it waterproof, but it has a good strong pigment. And this is the antique white that I'm using. And I'm just going to, I drew it in a few lines in at first, just sketched them in, and now I'm going over them. By the way, this took quite a long time to do, so I give the impression that I'm just sort of whipping through this, but it didn't happen that way, believe me. And I did try to really stick to what the original looked like. And there's the Prismacolor cream colored, and they're good pencils, you know, they're decent pencils. Prismacolor makes good stuff, so. But I really thought this was a more appropriate pencil since I'm going to be handling it quite a bit, and I didn't want it to smudge. The trick here is not to press too hard, because if you press too hard, you're incising the wood, and it's balsa wood, so it's very soft. So you have to find the right kind of pencil that will actually leave a mark, and this particular Prismacolor pencil seems to have a pretty rich, soft lead, pencil lead on it. So I have to keep it sharp. I'm frequently sharpening it. You need a really good sharpener, and sometimes you have to change the blades on your sharpeners or just get a new one. I use metal sharpeners. I have one that's enclosed in a plastic case that I can replace. But frequent sharpening is the key to getting the detail. And not pressing too hard. If you use cheaper colored pencils, you may not be able to get this result. And if you use watercolored or water-based ones, like Inktense is a water-soluble one, although they don't call it a watercolor pencil, you may end up smearing it too much. So that's why I chose this. These curvilinear forms were really popular, and this has not so much the Dutch influence as it does the more French style that is made more of an American thing. They're taking the French style of florals and the intricacies that were left over from the Baroque period and making it their own. And that's why I really loved this design. And there's only one color. There were no, it wasn't a multiple of colors like the chest had. For this one, it was much simpler as far as the design. Well, the design's not actually that simple, but the color, choosing a single color and then contrasting it with the red, the reddish, almost a rusty red. It actually is in daylight when you see this color. Someday I'm going to buy a better camera. I noticed that even though there's a lot of people who have this particular camera, it's not particularly expensive, but it doesn't track to focus. And that is a bit of a problem. So when this goes out of focus, I'm sorry. I do try very hard to, get it into focus correctly, but it doesn't always track properly. And my eyesight is not that good. I'm getting to the point where I'm going to need cataract surgery, so I do the best I can. Now I'm just spraying a little bit of fixative on top of that, which was just a little bit of gloss spray, clear gloss spray. Now these are going to be the base of the handles, and these are some very old sequins that I had, and I used them frequently in crafts and sewing. And I'm just going to cut them all the way around to make them smaller. And they will have more of a geometric shape, which is what I'm looking for the base of the handle, for the drop handles. So I need 8 of these as well. And I'm in real time here so that you can see me cutting it. And that's what I'm after. It's about half the size now than it originally was. And I need to cut out 8. And these are from the 1940s, these sequins. They're actually celluloid. I have tons of these. They're on a string and various colors. So I'm using them. The gold seemed to work out really well, so there we are. Now I'm going to keep working on the drop handles, The triple thick is dry, and I'm going to dip these into a gold metallic paint and let it run down the shaft of the pen to give it a more of a teardrop shape. Keep that teardrop shape going, that is. And I have 8 of them that I'm going to use. One was already made with a, on the end, very end, I colored it with the chrome marker and decided that the paint would be better. Now I'm going to just give this whole thing a coat of Mod Podge. Boy, I couldn't remember the name. Isn't that funny? I looked at the label and then promptly forgot it. This is the flat Mod Podge, which, by the way, and I always say this every time, it still has a bit of a sheen to it. It's not truly flat or matte. So that's okay because I'm going to sand it afterwards with some 2000 grit paper and take any sheen off of it that I don't want. So now I have a couple of layers on top of that drawing. I have sprayed it with the polyurethane spray, clear spray, and now it's getting a good coat of Mod Podge. Dries pretty fast, this stuff, so already the top is almost dry in the front. So this will give it some protection as well and pull those colors together. Now, here are the 4 key plates and the plates that go behind the teardrop pulls. And so we're going to concentrate on doing these now. And I'm going to do a few things to the keyhole. I put a little mark where the keyhole actually is going to be on most of them. I'm going to stick a pin right through the middle of it, and then I have this polymer clay tool that has a very fine but rounded end on it, and I'm just going to push a little mark all the way around it to give it a little border, and I think you can probably see it there, and I'll go on to the next one. I could not get any closer to this with my camera, and if I put the zoom on, it will, unfortunately will make the image a little bit too, I don't know, fuzzy. So this is as close as I could get. This is very small stuff, so as I said, someday I will be able to get a different camera, one that can handle this kind of thing a little better, but that will be down the road. They're very expensive. Okay, I'm just gonna do all 4 of them. Let's see if I can get that close enough. There, you see, I pushed little indentation all the way around, give it a little decorative element. And now I'm just marking where the handles and the key go with an Inktense that's nearly the same color as the color of the chest. And I can see, because I'm pushing a little hole with this pencil, where they ought to go, so it's very hard for you to probably see that. Okay. Now I'm going to glue on the back for the teardrop handles. And I'll just do one at a time. I'm going to use super glue because it sticks and it dries quickly. I had to put quite a bit on because these are kind of like a dome. So if you don't get enough on, they might not stay. So, oops, that one kind of had a mind of its own. As I said, I do appreciate your suggestions, but be aware of the fact that I am using the things that I have, and I don't always take advice, but sometimes I do because I have my own way of doing things. And always, if you're going to try to give me some advice, let me remind you, be polite. I had somebody recently give advice in a way that I thought was unnecessarily rough. And that's not acceptable to me. So be aware of that. And also that if you do give me advice, I may take it and I may not. So that's just how it is. Hey, but I'm open. That's how people learn. But I am definitely not here to undergo critiques. I had enough of that in the art world, believe me. And I was in the art world for a long time. And sometimes people use it to take their frustrations out on you, and that's not always a good idea. So it's never a good idea, actually. So yes, you make suggestions, but just remember to be polite, and that's really all I require. I've only had to block one person so far. I've been here 8 months now, and some guy got on and said something filthy. So I just blocked him. So I thought, well, we don't need this. This is kind of abusive. So, but that happens in the world. Fortunately, it's rare, so. And also, some of you have said your comments were being held. Well, I did manage to find out what was going on, and your comments are not being held. I have looked in the section properly. I went through everything, and I see no held comments on my site. So I don't know what's going on with comments. If you're not able to comment, that's something on YouTube's side or on your side. I see nothing on my side that has blocked anyone from commenting. Okay, now I'm just bending these, finishing it up. Very simple. Just bend it right before it turns into a teardrop and stick it through the hole. And that's how I made these. I'm not even gluing them in because they're so tight that it's not necessary. And I'm just using a little marker, a very fine marker, to accentuate the keyhole. Of course, when that dries, it'll be indelible. And there it is. And now I will have another picture of it set up in my little box that I use to show the furniture, because I haven't built the log cabin to the point yet where anything can be exhibited. So here it is with some pewter and a little sampler. Thank you for watching. I hope you stick with me. I'll be making a walking wheel, which is a spinning wheel, and it's going to be patterned off of one that I own that's over 250 years old. So we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.